So, I was at Good Game Con recently, which I realized Good Game was referring to the term, rather than the idea of bringing up gems like Battalion Wars. So I had to find out the hard way that it was a fighting game gathering place. But that was okay, it wasn't a total waste with the place having a museum of non-fighting games to play. I decided to try out Project M, and well, it has its ups, like fast pace and access to dashing down smashes, which I finally learned how to apply, by the way. But it also has its downs. I have plenty of complaints about Rob feeling unnatural as it is, but they're not what I'm going to go over. No, I'm going to talk about the fatal problem. That freaking unconditional flinching! Grab a beer, this is going to be a long rant. Now, I have ranted repeatedly about unconditional flinching in the past, but this time, I'm more clear on the problems with it, such that I can actually bullet point why it's such a stupid farce, which I will proceed to do. First problem is, it has you punished too much for ever getting hit, regardless of the circumstances and the character setup. This one alone is why I praise Icarus Uprising's power system. I'll get to that later, but trust me, that deserves praise. What really annoys me though, is when I am playing as either Rob or Link, both of whom are designed to convert defensive power into momentum, I get hit once, and I take 90% damage. No chance to escape by DIing, with no way to get out of the opponent's hit range. Jumping sure as hell doesn't work when I try pressing the Y button, and I don't do the mid-air jump when I am used, and I can't even freaking attack back. Why the fuck is this lightweight whip able to deal 90% of my armor character for free just by tapping them? That's bullshit! That brings me to reason number 2. It's not newbie friendly at all. I got a newbie as an opponent earlier, trying out the game, and the only reason I was able to teach him how to play the game was because I'm inherently anything but an ass about teaching him. It's simply merciless than I generally am when I actively fight. With unconditional flinching, forget the free 90% armor characters just by tapping them. The mere fact that the opponent can't fight back, period, turns multiplayer into freaking single-player time trial. When I nail an opponent, he's simply not able to fight back. I know that force-talking newbies is not an accomplishment to begin with, but there's such a thing as quick learners. Why disregard that? You learn much better when the game actually tells you how close you get to hitting somebody, which allows you to hunt for mistakes and review. Speaking of, reason number 3. What is the point of widening skill gaps? Any balanced enough game already makes sure that the more genuinely skilled player will always win, even if they would have to work harder to do so. Oh wait, I just realized that I would reward treating the game like a game! We can't add that. We have to tell functioning players that they suck even when they prove otherwise, and that stating the simple solution, which we inevitably inevitably proves our own stupidity and shallowness. See how stupid that is? A game has rules that typically aim to make sure it stays challenging enough that it keeps its appeal by maintaining variety. That's reason number 4. The standards themselves. The standards for wanting unconditional flinching everywhere are hypocritical. They're based on the expectation that you can play through NES games that are simply Nintendo hard rather than having fake difficulty. In those games, sure, you flinch when you get hit and voila, the game's harder. But they are not necessarily hard for that alone. They can easily be hard because enemies don't flinch and they abuse that to their advantage. Airman certainly doesn't flinch, that's why people can't defeat Airman no matter how many times they can't avoid that big tornado. It can't be identified easily. But that's because the human said that I ranted with a donation. Right. So now I should. So now I'm talking about the AI having flinching immunity, and that can be dismissed as a necessity for them. But that's because they already can expect to get hit. The problem with that argument is you still have to know how to keep the flinching immunity from providing nasty momentum advantages. Not having the skills for doing so be useful in multiplayer is just dumb! Oh, hold on. Now, in case I have not provided satisfaction with the bullet pointing of all the idiotic things about unconditional flinching, I will provide comparisons to Kid Icarus Uprising, which I have ranted about in the past, but that was an aggravation about kiting, which I'm finding ways to deal with, thank God, or thank Power 10 as the case may be. Fully granted, but surely. So, but what does Kid Icarus Uprising do that Super Smash Bros. Doesn't? Well, first, mechanics. When you get knocked into the air, it still sucks, sure. But while you're in the air or lying down, you take only 1 star damage. Further knockback isn't happening, so no juggling when the game has 3-dimensional mobility to begin with too, so juggling would be harder to begin with. And recovery maneuvers are actually usable. In Super Smash Bros., I would never consider the rolling recovery because it's too freaking punishable. So don't call me predictable when I can do nothing else to any halfway practical purpose. I'm looking at you, Shadow Chaos 725. In Kid Icarus Uprising, it's the attack recovery, the one I'm forced to do in Super Smash Bros. That doesn't see use for me. Although that's because it's often unnecessary. Excuse me. It's often unnecessary with roll recovery actually being good. Yeah, freaking cold. I can see the attack recovery work to determine melee types, but even then, Ukemi is useful enough. Speaking of Ukemi, I swear, it has less invincibility duration in Super Smash Bros. Kid Icarus Uprising, I get to do it, I do it, I'm back on my feet, and I'm once again ready to roll. Super Smash Bros., no such luck. I'm too vulnerable to being hit again, and back to being a punching bag. That is, by the way, assuming I get the opportunity instead of being juggled. The only real complaint with Kid Icarus Uprising's base mechanic that I have is that flinching is even stronger in Kid Icarus Uprising. But unconditional flinching is thankfully purely on paper. This brings us to the power system. You put 2 powers in the form of pieces on a 6x6 grid, and then in battle you can use a given number of charges for each power on the grid as you see fit. This serves not 1, but 2 useful purposes. The first purpose is super armor is 1 such power. For 6 spaces plus 2 for each level up, you can give yourself a buff that for about 20 seconds cuts damage by 30%, and more importantly, provides knockback immunity that has no strings attached, which is referring to counter, but that has its own benefits that are on the topic of discussion. The limit is that super armor is still a power, having limited charges so that it can't be used carelessly. It eats up space on the power grid, with above average spaces per charge values at that. I'm fine with that because I actually have my armor, and it's actually able to function. Other players effectively can trade for whatever else they want instead, granted that I don't recommend it on Standard Club. Speaking of, Standard Clubs benefit so much just by not having their momentum disrupted at all. Their momentum isn't that good to begin with, their base momentum at least. What keeps their melee from being absolutely dominant, though? Clashing, which grieves individual melee strikes and thus is used to shut down mindless club melee momentum. What counters it? The club's large shots. Those generally can't be blocked, certainly can't be dealt with by melee, and good luck dodging them point blank without killing your own momentum. Armor powers even allow for retaining momentum against clashing too. As if that wasn't enough, the power system provides instant tag powers to deal with kiting. They can be declared as cheap, but the ones I've used certainly are anything but. Yeah, super speed can be used for escapes, but it eats up a full line even at level 1. It gets overridden by mobility affecting elements, and doesn't even ensure attack in and of itself. This makes it a lot easier to get closer to somebody, which weapons like the tank scraper would use it for. Mega Laser can be dodged, doesn't even stun opponents out of interactivity, and only even deals working damage if the opponents are in the laser for long. But it does shut down energy charge levels 1 and 2 easily, when energy charge levels 3 and 4 are among the bigger powers in the game. And the big one, Black Hole. It's simply easily resisted by plenty of powers, but it does punish the opponent for running out of protection powers, which makes the tank scraper much more able to grief kiting by functioning as a time bomb. Very, very nice. So ultimately, the power system provides very useful tools for powerhouses, and it even allows me to devise things like the car tactic. Now I will not publicly say what the car is, or even its purpose, only that one of my club power set's powers is used as its cornerstone, and I reserve the right to say how close you are before you try any educated guesses or think you can assume anything. But the point is, the car comes from power being able to work in Kid Icarus Uprising, and it even helps power work as well. Smash provides no such luxury. Soon as you get hit, ever, you lose. Hence why knockback immunity is so drastic that I actually sympathize with people thinking that super armor is overpowered, when I'm already on the pleasure and super armor usage at that. Still, I think players could stand to learn to adjust opponents who retain momentum against being hit, and forget master variety and the anti-armor that comes with it, taking their first step into a larger world. Alright, they don't need to do that in Super Smash Bros. That's why Super Smash Bros. Fails miserably.